Good evening, London, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Ben's Camera Show. Oh yes, we are back, and we're going to have some fun tonight. We got a hell of a show for you today because I have had a hell of a week. I've had a very good week, I got to say. There are good weeks and there are bad weeks, and it's all down to whether I've had a good time with my cameras and my developing and all the rest of it. Nothing else matters, and right now, whatever else is going on in the world, nothing else should really matter to you, because here you're safe. We're going to talk about cameras, and we're going to talk about film, and we're talking about nothing else besides. So come with me now for the next hour. And I'm going to introduce you to a couple of cameras which are quite simply known as the best in the world, the best Super 8 cameras ever made, and by extension, for some people, the best cameras ever made. Whoa, what happened? I just put my intro back on. Okay, yeah, a little word about the technical faults from last week. I have spent the week completely stripping down and rebuilding my entire sound and vision system. So hopefully we won't get any of this kind of nonsense, like this loud music drowning us all out. So no, that's not going to happen this week because I have taken steps. Yes, I have. I've taken steps. I've taken technical steps, and it took me a while. But enough of me blathering on. I'm going to tell you, before we get into the meat of the show, I'm going to show you what I did this week. What's Ben done this week? Well, this is why I'm in such a good mood, because I had a pretty resounding success on the filming and developing subject. No, on the filming developing score. That's better. What am I talking about? Well, let's have a look. And is anyone else getting an echo on the audios? Ben Reynolds, yes, thank you, Ben. Yes, the echo, it's all been sorted now. As you said, gone now. Anyway, let's see what I've been up to this week. Enough stalling. What have I been doing? Well, I picked up. Where have I gone? Here I am. Okay, I picked up some time ago, and I cannot remember where I got it. I got a roll of this Boots Super 8 film, Super 8 movie chrome, made by Boots. Now, if you are not English, Boots is a chain of chemists who used to be really great. Now they're just okay. They used to make their own film, their own Super 8 film. Well, they didn't make it. This was expired in February 1990, as you can see. They didn't make it. They repackaged it. And from whom was it? Kodachrome? No. Movie Chrome was made by Agfa. And that means if you saw my show a couple of weeks ago, then you got an outside chance of being able to process it in color, if it's any good. Now, of course, you get the here we go. Here's the Boots branded envelope, and you were to send it to PO Box 50. I looked that postcode up. It doesn't exist anymore. Not only does the lab not exist anymore, it's taken the whole postcode down with it. And while I'm trying to open that, let's have a look at open the package, because it was a bit difficult. Let's look at some previous ones. It used to look like this. It was kind of like orange, very orangey. The back as the back of the box, but the front of the box. Oh my God! Look at that. Have you ever seen a better design for the front of a Super 8 box? You got Trooping the Color, and you got a guy water skiing on one ski. Is there nothing that this film cannot film? And the package inside looked like came out of a tin of Quality Street. So anyway, I finally managed to get it open there. And as you can see, this does not look the same as those old ones. This was the last one they made. You can see this is called the Black Box. I call it that. Still made in West Germany. So yeah, late 80s we're looking at. So what I did, before you, so you know what you're doing, and you know what ASA this is, I took one frame at every single f-stop. 5, 8, 11. I think you've seen this you've seen me do this before. I took one single frame and then I went back to the beginning and took a frame, and I just kept going all the way through all the f-stops and took one frame each. And that was what I took it of. That's just a digital picture of the street. And here's what that strip came out of after being a developer for 2 minutes 30. I did a variety of development times as well. That's after 2 minutes 30, a little bit gray, a little bit dim. 4 minutes 30, much better. And finally, I think 6 minutes 30, good contrast, starting to get a bit grainy. Maybe that's a bit much. So here's the f-stops as he cycled through them. Just I tidied it up and labeled it. So f2.8 looks about right. 5, 6, 8, yeah, it's all getting a bit dark there. By my calculations, I would say this film has dropped down from 40 ASA to about 30, maybe even 25 ASA. Oh yeah, and I tried it with a blue filter. It didn't look very good at all. Forget that. I was just in case it looked. So I put those in a grid of f-stops along the y-axis and development times along the x-axis. I'm so geeky. Maybe that's I got X and Y mixed up. Never mind. Anyway, the point is that you can see that I can see the best exposures and I can see the best development time. So I was all ready to go out and shoot this for real, and I did it in my Beaulieu 4008 ZM2, and this is what I got. I got an amazing result. I was at 2 frames a second, by the way. That was very sharp. I got what I think was a bloody good result for a 30-year-old color film. I did it in ECN2 as a negative, and Friedman Waxmuth already identified it as a negative. He said you can see the black sprocket holes and the black dust on the picture, so you can tell it was done as a negative. Doesn't matter. I'm not messing around with no positive, with no reversal, with any reversal. I'm just going to shoot this boot stuff as a negative. Look at it. It looks practically new. Oh, you wouldn't know that was 30 years old. Looks bloody great. So if you've got yourself any Boots Super 8, then go right ahead and shoot it. I've got 2 more rolls of this stuff, and I'm very happy. I'm going to shoot it not just for test and mucking around, but I'm going to shoot it with actual. I'm actually going to shoot it for fun. Yeah, okay, that's me. Yeah. So yeah, so that's why I'm in a good mood. Basically, I have managed to. Let's get rid of that. I have managed to find a very, very gently aged Super 8 expired film, and if I see any more Boots on sale, I'm going to buy it. Any of the black box, that is. I think the black box is better. Next week I'm going to try the orange boxes and the orange cartridge, and I'm going to have fun with that and shoot that. And what have we said? We've got Boots in Scotland, Ben. We have Boots in Scotland. Did I say there was only England? I'm sorry about that. If you're British, maybe there's Boots Boots in the rest of the country. I don't know. Good luck going to Boots now and asking for Super 8 film. You'll get blank stares. All they're selling now is cough medicine at the moment. Wonder why. Anyway, so yeah, so Boots Super 8 film expired stuff. I found it for like £9, £9. We're talking like 1990 prices on Super 8. Never mind any of that nonsense with the with all that fresh film. I'm going to eBay and I'm going to look for Boots. Okay, right, let's get on to the meat of the show. Firstly, I'm going to go into my little box here. I'm not going to bother with the Rent-A-Ghost thing this time. I'm just going to straight ahead and do it. Yay! Here I go. And let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of that. Hello, what's all this? It's the subject of tonight's show. This, gentlemen and ladies, is the Canon 814 XLS. Now, we had a little sneak preview back there of when I was doing the tests, because I actually did the test in here. But before I even touch this this amazing camera, night trial glove time. I don't know why I bother, really. Maybe I've got a little night trial fetish. Who knows? Right. The Canon 814 XLS. Before I even touch it, I'm going to give you some information about this absolutely incredible camera. Okay, it was built in 1979. No, it wasn't necessarily built, this one, in 1979, but they started making them in 1979. And it was the last of the Canon Super 8 cameras. Canon had a great run with Super 8 cameras. They made some absolutely wonderful machines. I showed you the Canon 814AZ another time. And now we're looking at the end of the line. And the nice thing about Canon, really, is that when they stop with a format, when they finish up, the last cameras they make in that format are usually absolutely killer cameras, like really, really, really good ones. They obviously pulled out the stops. And before they fired all the Super 8 engineers, they said, listen, you got one more chance to make an absolute top-of-the-line showstopper of a camera. And they did it. They made this one, the 814 XLS. Not only did they make that, this is kind of annoying because I'm going to have to keep talking about two cameras all the time, but they made a big brother, which they marketed about the same time, and there's the 1014 XLS, the 814 and the 1014. And if you paid attention in one of my previous shows, I obviously can't remember which one I said, but I talked about the Canon naming schemes. 1014, 10 meaning it's a 10 times zoom, 14 meaning that the widest aperture is 1.4, XL, we'll get onto that, S, sound. These are both sound cameras. They're sound cameras, but they are not autofocus cameras, which is funny because the 514 they made in an autofocus version. I think they figured that these are for the real pros or the prosumer crowd. You don't want to mess around with any autofocus when you really should be doing that yourself. So what is the difference between these two cameras? Good question. Well, obviously you can tell from the 8 and the 10, this one, the zoom is not quite, it doesn't zoom out as quite as far, and it doesn't zoom in quite as far. In fact, I've got some pictures here. I actually went and can demonstrate this for you here. Let's get that away. And where's me slideshow? Here it is. Right, get rid of that and that. Okay, so here's the 1014 zoomed all the way in, and that's the 1014 zoomed all the way out. Now the same, almost the same scene. That's the 814 all the way in. Oh my God, or was it 814 first? There's not much difference to it, and that's the. Okay, I got it the wrong way around. This is the 1014 zoomed all the way out. The 1014 all the way in. Keep an eye on how big that yellow sign is. 814 all the way out, almost the same. And 814 all the way in. See, it's slightly smaller. See? Zoomed all the way in on the 1014. Zoomed all the way on an 814. There's not much in it. I mean, there's no reason. If you've got an opportunity to buy an 814, there's no real reason to buy a 1014 just for the zoom, because as you can see, it's not much in it. However, they have other things in which are well, the 1014 has a couple of bells and whistles which the 814 doesn't, and I'll be getting into them. So I'll use the 814 to demonstrate some of this stuff. Oh my God, look at it, it's gone camera crazy here now. This is just confusing. Let's get rid of the slideshow. I'm going to use the 814. The problem with these two cameras is that neither of them are working very well. Well, the 1014 doesn't work at all. I bought it as a spares camera because I thought, rather optimistically, I thought I was going to be able to fix it, because on eBay, the person selling this, they said all that was wrong was this thing here was a bit loose. This is the shutter was a bit loose, and because I had an 814, I thought, oh, I can cannibalize it, make a good camera. Unfortunately, not only is that loose, the whole effing handle is loose, and the thing doesn't work. I've put batteries in. There's obviously some kind of power disruption between the handle where the batteries are and the body of the camera. I did try and take it apart. I failed miserably to even get the case open. I did look up some instructions on that. I followed them. Case still won't open. it's been sitting on a shelf for a while, and yeah, a bit sad really that this 1014 doesn't work. And as for the 814, well, what's wrong with that? Oh dear, I just feel awful even showing you this. Okay, it worked when I got it, and there it is. It runs, fantastic. I moved it. I moved the camera. It was on a tripod. I took it off. Moved it while it was sitting on the tripod, and I moved the camera and tripod together to another room. I plonked the tripod down, not violently, just put it down, and this happened. Oh no! The front element of the lens bloody shattered on me. It shattered, and I barely gave it a knock. This is like one of those. Not the zoom. Let's focus on this disaster here. Yeah, look at that. Horrible. I've been talking to some people. Some people claim, they say, oh, you must have done something awful to it. I really didn't. The lens might have had a slight nick in it. It may have been, it got warm and it shattered. It may have been, I don't know what happens. The thing is, it still actually works if you zoom all the way in. You don't see this awful thing. So I'm looking for an 814 that has a decent lens, and I don't care if the rest of it is broken. Anyone out there got an 814 that's buggered up? I will buy it from you. I've got an eBay alert on. Problem is, even broken ones cost a bit. In fact, let's have a look. See how much these things cost. See how much an 814 XLS in good condition, and let's look at some sold ones. Oh, look at this. One sold for $433.38, and another sold for $306.40. 74, that was untested. It had all moldy batteries in the handle. 410, yeah, it looks like, oh, 249. That's not too bad. You're not going to get a huge amount of change out of 420 quid for an 814 and a 1014s. Let's have a look. 350, 597 ASIC, but that's in mint condition. Yeah, we're looking at several £100s. But when you think about it, you can spend that money on a lens. You can spend that money on a terrible DSLR. You could buy, for the price of a decent DSLR, you could buy one of these Super 8 cameras, and you could buy like about 3 or 4 cartridges and have them developed as well for the same price. Mint, £411. Word has got out. The word is out that these are good cameras. In fact, I've seen so many people. I've seen a lot of people posting up on various chat boards and saying stuff like, yeah, I want to get into Super 8. I've heard the Canon 1014 XLS is good, so I went and bought one. Can someone tell me how to use it? To those people, I say, you should have started with a really, really crappy Super 8 camera and seen if that was for you before you worked your way up to this. How dare you even touch one of these cameras if you don't know what you're doing? Anyway, enough of me ranting. Let's see what these cameras can do. Let's see what the actual bits and pieces are all about. Now, I'm going to try and keep this steady, and I'm going to zoom into it now and focus on this thing so that we can see. That's it. That's nice and crisp. Oh, Super 8 cameraman on the chat says, I mostly work on the 814 XLS. Some people have said that the 814 actually has a better lens than the 1014. They say it's a little bit sharper. People in the know. Corey says, mine is broken. I've had maybe 3 Canon 1014s before. Yeah, once you go with one of these, it's hard to go back to another camera. They're that good. So let's start at the very beginning. This is your on-off switch. Nothing more to tell you about that. There's the battery check. If we press that in, that little level thing goes up. Okay. Down here, I won't be talking much about these because these are the sound settings. Well, I still shoot sound occasionally. Unfortunately, when I tried to put a sound cartridge in this, it chewed it up. So the obviously the sound head is not running particularly well. The bastard who sold it to me said it was working fine. Oh dear, what are we going to do? So tone, that's your treble bass for the sound, and external mic you can put on there. On the other side here, you've got your remote control, you've got your microphone mini jack, you've got auxiliary, another microphone, could be, and moni, which is monitor, so you can listen to what you're filming. Now, don't get too freaked out at all these different things here, but okay, here's a flash socket. I showed you before on the Sankyo what you can do with, if you've got one of these, you can actually mount a flash on top of this. These two things don't come with a camera. This is various mounting things. I tried to mount a GoPro on top of it because I thought, oh, I don't know what I thought. I wanted to make a digital copy of what I was filming as well. It didn't work out that well. And this is just a sort of a mounting shoe that you can put a flash onto. So you can actually use this as a flash still camera. Stills camera? What? Yes, you can shoot one frame at a time. That's what this knob is all about. Right. PS means normal running. I've looked through the, I think it means picture and sound. Yes, that's what it means. Picture, sound. And if you push this in and turn it, you can go to 1. That's your single frame. And now here, 1, 5, 20, 60. What are all these about? That's an intervalometer. Yes, it's got an intervalometer built in. Fantastic. 1, meaning that it will shoot 1 frame per second. 5, in fact, let's switch. Let's start filming and see. I'm going to get the extra mic on here. There we go. Oops. You hear that? 1 frame a second it's doing. Okay, let's switch it to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. 1 every 5 seconds, 1 every 20 seconds, 1 every 60 seconds. I don't need to demonstrate those. We don't have time to hang around here. Oh, and listen to that. Listen to that. Listen, it purrs. It purrs. Let's get the mic on that. I'm going to start turning over here. Listen to this. Oh, it doesn't even make the clack, 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 clack sounds that Super 8 cameras made. It just goes, it whispers. So nice for your sound shooting. Right, now here, 1010 and 1020. This is these are the no friends buttons. This is when you want to film yourself and you want to get in front of the camera. If you switch it to 1010, what it does, if you put it on run lock, is that it waits 10 seconds. I've just put it on there, and then it runs 10 seconds. 1020 means that it waits 10 seconds. There it goes. It's just started, and then runs, and then automatically stops in a couple of seconds, and that's it. 1020, it waits 10 seconds, and it shoots for 20 seconds. Corey says, one more note. The Japanese designer of this camera passed away this year. He did indeed. Very sad. If I was a bit more well-researched, I would know his name. In fact, if Corey seems to know a lot about them on the chat, if you know the guy's name, maybe we can pay him a little tribute. He also said that Pro 8mm stopped dealing with them. Dual in New York City says they can work with them. This is absolutely true. This guy Corey, I should ask him for more information more often. He or she certainly seems to know what they're talking about. Yeah, if you're in London, Sendine in London, they work on them for a price. And yeah, the Pro 8mm, I was fortunate enough to have a little chat with Phil Vigent from Pro 8. Sadly, the guy they have who fixed these cameras died, and I don't know why he didn't train up an apprentice before he died. But sadly, yes, you know, it's not so much the cameras dying that you have to worry about; it's the people who can fix them dying. I think these cameras. I think someone's gonna keep fixing them for a little while. They are such phenomenally good cameras. Right, what's up here? Auto, manual, this is your manual focus. Of course, any camera worth its salt has got manual focus. And that's auto exposure lock, and this is totally auto. And when you get it on manual, you use this little rocker switch to go to open and close the shutter. In fact, let's have another look at what goes on inside the eyepiece when you change the auto exposure, because I want to show you this. This is bloody amazing. I mean, I showed it to you already, but look at that thing above the picture there. That is your f-stop indicator. Now, some cameras have a little needle, some have a dial on the outside of the camera, some have a needle you can see inside. This is effing class. I mean, look at that. It's got a lit up display with a thing. You can also put between f-stops for absolute accuracy. It's just a thing of beauty. When I first started adjusting my auto exposure on this, I damn near giggled in delight when I saw the system they've got there. It's just wonderful. I mean, they have really outdone themselves with this camera, and that's on the 814. With the 1014, you got something even better, which I can't show you through the actual lens, but I've printed it out. Look at this. The 1014 display, when you finish a roll, the word end flashes up on the screen as an LED head-up display. No other camera in the world did that. Not even the 814 did that. In fact, this is probably my reason for wanting to have a 1014, because at the end of a roll, end. I love that. Also, if it gets stuck for any reason, it says end, which means that's the end of your filming for today. And this is very nice. When you're looking through the eyepiece, it shows you how much film you've got left. This thing moves down depending on where your film is at, how much film you got left, which is great. I mean, every other camera I can think of just has an indicator on the outside of the camera, and this, no, it's got an outside indicator and it's got this, which is amazing. That's on the 1014. The instead of end on the 814, a light comes up on the side here, just a red light, not end. Now, we're not finished. We are not even close to finished, because what's this? This is a very mysterious button, which a lot of people have been confused about in the past, because what it is, this is a shutter angle adjustment. A shutter angle adjustment. Now, when you're on the sun setting, the shutter angle is 150. And when you're on the window setting, it's 220. Now, whoa, hold up a minute. Ben, I hear you're saying, what's all this shutter angle malarkey? Well, I'm going to show you. I can't assume that everyone watching this knows everything, or at least as much as I do. But here we go. Here's what I made. Okay, right. Imagine we're now inside the camera. Okay, this lens, which is not a lens for this camera, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so this lens is pointing outwards. It's pointing towards the outside world. Okay, and interestingly enough, look, this one, it still has the little daylight filter. So that's what an internal filter looks like on a UMIG Macro 80, which is what this lens is from. Okay, never mind the lens. We're not here to look at the lens. We're here to look at this. Okay, so here's 360 degrees right here. Are we all on the same page here? And here is an approximation of a camera shutter. When you're filming, this thing goes round and round and round and round inside the camera, okay? Why does it go round and round? Because the film has to be advanced. Oh, look. We've got some film here, okay? So the film gets advanced bit by bit, as you know, 18 times a second, 24 times a second, whatever. And every time this goes around, when the film is obscured, that's when the claw grabs it and moves it down to the next one. When the shutter is open, as you can see, light can get onto the film and it gets exposed, and then whoop, shutter's over it again, film gets pulled down again. All right? Now, as you can see, this shutter is of an interesting angle, and that's why I've got this here. Because this is let's see how many angles. Let's put this on 0. And that's 220 degrees there. So when they say shutter angle, they mean the amount of space you get where your film is being exposed. And 220 degrees is a decent amount of space to expose your film in. Okay, so your film is actually, although it's being pulled through 18 times a second, it is being exposed at, well, 1/40th of a second in the case of 220 at 18 frames a second. Now this camera, as I've already shown you, oh, that's the 1014, but never mind. It's got the sun setting and the window setting. Okay, the window setting is the 220 degree shutter angle, and this camera has an adjustable shutter, so that when you, in fact, I'm going to do it on the camera first. And I get the thing up here, get the mic on here. So when you go from one shutter angle to another, listen to this. Okay, it was so quiet you probably didn't even hear that. I'll do it again. Okay. You hear that little? What was going on there when that was ing? I'll show you what was going on here. This shutter was moving from 220 to 180. No, not 180, 150. Okay? 150. So now it goes, it's mostly black and only light for a little bit. See? So that's 150. So what it means is that each frame is only getting exposed for like a 40th of a second. I think it's a 30th of a second for 220 and a 40th of a second for 150. My point is that this is one of the few cameras, Super 8 cameras, where you can actually adjust this. Most cameras have got, well, some have got a 180 shutter, which is like this, 180. And quite often, some of the later ones have got a 220 shutter. And that is what they mean by XL. If it's XL, you can shoot in existing light, XL, which means you don't have to rig up lights because you're exposing your film for more time per round, per go around. Okay, I think I've made my point here. XL and 150 is a higher shutter speed. So why would you want to do that? Well, in short, if you've got good light and you want a nice crisp motion, then you do it on the sun setting, which is this. And if you're shooting in very low light, which I'll show you in a minute, you press that and it goes to this, XL. Ben Reynolds says, great visual aids, Ben. Thank you, Ben. I spent a lot of time on this. So boom, 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 boom. All right. I think that's about all we can. All I can show you. So if you get any camera, never mind the Canons, if you get any camera that's called an XL, it has XL in the name of the camera. Sankyo, they have it. It seems to be a convention a lot of cameras use. The XL means it's got a 220 degree shutter. Now this is very important in getting your exposure right. In fact, let's have a look. There is this excellent website called super8arena.com where it has a calculator here where you write in your shutter angle. Okay, so let's say you've got a 180 shutter and you're shooting at, say, 24 frames a second. That means you're shooting at 1/48th of a second, which means if you've got a light meter, that's what to tell it, 1/48th. And you can also calculate your shutter angle if you know all your other variables. And it's got some common speeds down here at the bottom. Super 8 Arena, I can really recommend that. That's an excellent website, an excellent resource for finding out your shutter angle. Because as we know, film speed, as in your ASA, your ISO rather, and shutter angle are only two sides of the exposure pyramid, and the third is your f-stop. So yes, very important. Now let's have a look at the other side of the camera. Well, here obviously is your handle, And if you pull this lever here, it goes at an angle like that, and it locks. So you can actually, I'm going to switch my main camera on so you can, bloody hell. The microphone nearly fell into my lap there. Okay, let's put the main camera on. Okay, so when you shoot with this thing, usually you hold it like this. It's at a nice kind of ergonomic angle. Da-da-da-da. Why am I not seeing anything? Oh, I don't know. Must be something wrong with the camera. I'll sell it on eBay for cheap. Another reason why you might not be able to see anything is this. Oh dear. Okay, I'll get myself off the main camera here. There we go. This is very important. This is the first reason why people can't see anything. O and C. That is your That's your eyepiece, open or closed. Because as we know, if your eyepiece is open and your eye is not up to it, and you're filming, like with a remote control or just setting it on run lock, light can actually go down the eyepiece and expose the film. It's a bit of a bastard, that. So so you have to close the eyepiece for when you do that, and open it when you're actually shooting. Now, let's have a look. Last thing I'm going to show you before I show you some footage that was shot on this. I know you're all desperate to see some footage. The knife, as usual. Okay, film compartment. We've all seen these before. And I've shown this, I think, on a previous show. But let's see if we can zoom in here. Right, there they are. There's what I want to see. That row of buttons there. See that row of buttons? Most cameras have got just one of these buttons. Or if you're lucky, it's got a lever. These are your ASA film stock identifier buttons. And it's got so many, I've got it written down here. This thing can automatically meter. It can automatically meter 25 ASA, 40, 64, 100, 160, 250, and 400 automatically. They made this camera before 400 ASA film was even a thing. And yet they made it forward compatible so that you can put 500 ASA film in there. Never mind, it's 500, 400. At that point, it doesn't really matter. You can put 500 ASA film in there and it'll automatically shoot it, which is bloody brilliant. And here, last of all, here's your sun filter. That's off and that's on for your tungsten film. And here's a bit of exposure compensation. If you turn that one way or the other, it'll bump up all your f-stops a bit or down a bit. I can't turn that thing with these on. I think we've gone through the whole thing now. Let's have a look at some footage. That's what we want to see. Okay, right. Footage. Right, I've shot all sorts of stocks on this. All sorts. Firstly, all right, well, let's start with a bit of Tri-X. This was filmed on a very, very dull and grey day. Let me get my drink. With Tri-X, which is, I think, oh God, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think Tri-X is 100 ASA. Maybe it's 200. No, I think it's 100. Someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Lovely, clear images there. Absolutely amazing. Mm. Oh, you do get thirsty doing these camera shows. So that's a bit of Tri-X. That was on the South Bank. This is all pre-COVID, by the way. Don't worry, I didn't risk my ass out there. Okay, let's put a little bit of music on. Okay, where do we watch out? Because last week I drowned myself out with the music. But I do like to have a little bit of music while we're showing stuff. Okay, that was Tri-X. Let's have a look. Okay, this is expired Kodachrome on the 814. It looks amazing. I don't like that music. Yeah, I shot most of this at like 2.8, 1.4. This was for during a workshop that I did, so I didn't actually shoot this. But look, most cameras, when you open up the aperture really wide, you start to get vignetting, you start to get fuzziness, you start to get all sorts of nonsense. You start to get bleaching. Not so. You can open up your aperture all the way to 1.4 with confidence on this camera and expose the gnarliest, most unresponsive expired film. Lovely for expired Kodachrome. This. Let's see, there's another shot. I think in a second here. Yeah, some nice shots of Hampstead Heath. Lovely zoom there. Well, I mean, parakeets. You got parakeets all over London now. All right, so that was Kodachrome. Let's have a look at another stock here. Let's have a look at Fomapan. Different to Tri-X. This was developed reversal style down in Camden Town. I mean, really, the clarity when you get a good camera, when you get a good Super 8 camera. Oh, okay. Tri-X is 200 daylight, 180 tungsten. Thank you for correcting me there. This was in, again, a very rainy, grey, dim, a kind of day you would never take Super 8 out into. That was the Vagina Museum. Sorry, it makes me laugh. So yeah, that's the that's in Fomapan. Very nice. Okay, let's put it on XL and put the fastest film. Let's put some 500T in there and going underground. Going underground. The Tube is a great place to test out cameras because it's always lit the same way. There we go. So that was with 500T. You know what? That Boots film looks almost as good, but the Boots I had to shoot at 2 frames a second. But look at that. I mean, can't complain really. It's 500. It's a little bit grainy, but that's 500T for you. But it's, you know, let's have another look at some more 500T. This was my film Moving Forward. Shot 500T as a negative. Another grey day. In fact, these are good cameras for British weather. Really, look how dull it is there. But you know, still got a decent exposure. I think this was at 2.8. I filmed this up the Sky Garden. That's what it was called. And yeah, this was a film. If you haven't seen it, go ahead. It was made for this. Go ahead to my YouTube channel after this show. It's called Moving Forward. And I had a great time shooting it with the lovely Straight 8 Festival people. I mean, clarity, damn, pretty decent. Nice. I mean, it's a bit grey, but I didn't grade this myself. I probably would have whacked up the contrast and the brightness and probably grained it all up. We got in a second here. We'll see some outdoor shots on the similarly overcast day. Yeah, nice. I'm going easy on the music today after what happened last week. Corey says, wow, this is insane. I did this in New York City at night and was blown away by the results. XL cameras are amazing. You're right. And do you know what the reason for the XL cameras is? I think it was a mechanical innovation in that they were able to pull the claw was able to pull the film down in a much shorter time. And that's why they could make the shutter so short, and have the 200 degrees. Okay, and finally, well, not quite finally, but I'm saving some for the end. 200T. There we go. Some nice sunny day. 200T. I mean, I've said this before about other cameras and other shows, but if someone told me this was 16mm, I might even believe them. Am I goofing around like a bloody idiot there? It's back when I had hair. 200T, yeah, some tests I did with and without the sun filter. That was with 2 filters. That's why it was so yellow. That's without the filter. There's tungsten film in daylight. And there's the cat. Fantastic stuff. Anyway, have I finished on this camera? I don't know if I have, but I'll tell you what, I could use a bit of help here. So I'm going to bring in our guest. for the evening. Here's someone I've been trying to get on the show for many, many weeks, and I'm really, really psyched that he's on now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Mr. Bill Rogers. I don't know if I can hear you, Bill. Let's no, Bill, can you try and unmute yourself? Okay. Oh, wait a minute. He's on. There, I can hear you now. Ladies and oh, well, boy, hang on. I've got some echo in situations here. In fact, it's echoing everything that I am saying. Oh, I know what it is. I have my YouTube up the whole time. Okay. Now, can you hear me?
I can hear you absolutely fine. Okay. Thank you.
Has there been some horrendous technical problems that I wasn't aware of up to now with the show?
No, not at all.
Okay, good.
It's very good.
Good. Bill, welcome to the show then.
Thank you. And pleased to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
I'm sorry it took so long.
No, that's all right. You're probably one of the people out there who's got more cameras than I have. Although I won't ask you to put a number on that because
it changes all the time.
Yeah, it changes up probably.
Yes.
I this is not Camera Hoarders Anonymous, although it could be. I mean, I sent you a couple of video cameras back in the day.
Oh yes, I love them, by the way.
Good. Oh,
They're on the shelf.
I'm glad to hear that. And you know what? My wife was very happy that I got them out of the house as well. So
I bet she was.
Everyone's happy. So the Canons, the Canon 1014 and 814, are they, like everyone says, are they really the Rolls-Royce of Super 8 cameras?
They are. Simply put, I've used all the other best cameras, the Lycinas, and the Nikon R10 is beautiful. But when it comes to it, the Canon 1014 XLS and 814 XLS are the best. It's as simple as that. They all-rounders.
Yeah, all-rounders. There's I'm trying to think what they don't have. I'll tell you what I didn't get to, which I should have, but maybe I can do it now. Here we go. Which is the only other feature that the 1014 has that the 814 doesn't. Here we go. Which is the dissolve.
The dissolve.
It does cross dissolve.
It does indeed.
I obviously I never used it with this camera because this camera is broken. I'm slightly suspicious of dissolves on Super 8. Because they rely on jiggery pokery to move the film.
They do
back.
Indeed. And they use a lot of film. That's the thing.
Dissolves?
Well, yes. Well, if you think about it, you're going backwards and forwards. So, if you've got a crossfade and a dissolve, you're using up so much film that maybe you could do something in post in this day and age.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is really a pre-computer editing feature.
Oh, it's an analog wonder.
Yeah,
definitely.
So yeah, in the I was reading up how to do a dissolve on one of these, and the instructions said you can't do more than 3 dissolves per cartridge. And I don't know if it's because every time it pushes the film back, to do it to re-expose it, maybe it tightens it a little bit or something.
Possibly. I think I've probably cheated it then. I'm sure I've done 5 or 6 at least.
Right.
So that's interesting.
It also said in the instructions, which I thought was interesting, it said that don't do a dissolve in the first 20 seconds. 20 seconds of your cartridge.
Okay.
And it says it says specifically in the instructions, if you're shooting AGFA, don't do a dissolve in the first 40 seconds, which is interesting. I mean,
I think that must be the way it's connected to the reel itself in the cartridge. It must be something connected to that.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
AGFA cartridges and Kodak cartridges are slightly different, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Very slightly, but they're enough probably to affect that.
Yeah. It's a mystery. It's interesting. So when have you got, obviously you've got at least one of these cameras.
I've got one with me now.
Oh, okay. Wow. Are we looking 8 or 10? That's an 8, isn't it? Or is it?
No, it's a 10.
It's a 10. It's a 10. Oh, yeah. 10.
Nice. Oh, yes. I have 3 working 1014s and I've got 2 814 XLSs. So I love them. I'm obsessed with them.
I don't need to ask you, but can you tell the people why you have so many?
Well, for one thing, I've been making films since about the age of 12. Before that, I used to use the end of my father's films when he went on holiday. I would get like the last few seconds to sort of make my own little films, which obviously became the best bit in the 3.5 minutes that we had. Those last 15 seconds got edited together and I created mini masterpieces. So for me, I just adore Super 8. In fact, my first steps, most of my life was documented up to about the age of 25 on home movies shot on Super 8. Brilliant. So for me, it's been a constant. It's never gone away, and I've just carried on regardless. So I picked up some of my Canons really cheaply a long time ago.
Yeah. I imagine in like when all the video cameras were coming in, people were just not throwing them into skips, but just
yeah.
I know, and they're not making them anymore. I mean, that's the reason that's the best reason I can tell for getting multiples of the same model camera if you like it.
Well, it's good for spare parts. Let's put it that way.
Have you been able to?
I think I've had lots of repairs. That's the way you have to accept it.
Have you actually repaired one of these yourself? Or
I have multiple times. In fact, shockingly, I used to restore them, film clip test them, and then sell them on eBay for 200 quid a piece. Which, if you actually think about it now, was kind of giving them away. Well, I would spend hours fixing them.
Oh, I think that was a decent price. I mean, what
it was.
What year about was that?
Oh, probably only about 6 or 7 years ago. That's what's shocking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
I passed up on the opportunity to buy a 1014 about 3 years ago for 170 euros, and I'm still kicking myself.
Yes, so you should be. Yeah, that was a good price.
Yeah, no,
it's working.
The thing is, the guy who offered it to me was such a weirdo that I just I thought something's going to be up with this camera. Just going on his character.
There's lots of them out there, Ben. There's lots of film weirdos. I wouldn't worry about it. I just accept it.
Even for a film enthusiast, he was weird.
Okay,
but I mean, and but you know. The problem is, I actually went to him to buy other stuff, and he didn't have it. And I just saw the 1014. I said, "Oh, that's nice. I always wanted one of those." He said, "Oh, I'll sell it to you for 170 euros." And I just didn't have the money on me. I was only, I should have.
Don't think about it.
I should have gone and danced on the street for coins and still I got it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Anyway,
we live and learn.
Yes, we live and learn. Unfortunately, a lot of people have learned about this camera. Have you like how desirable it is?
It's the best, so it's hardly surprising. I've used a lot of Nikon R10s. I used to use a lot of Brunizzo 6080s, particularly with the 200-foot sound mags in.
Ooh.
And they were considered to be the best for many years. But now try fixing one.
Yeah.
Sadly, most of those don't work anymore.
Yeah, I've heard.
And so the joy of the Canons is that they can be repaired, maintained, and used on a regular basis, and that in itself makes them desirable.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned earlier about the adjustable shutter angle.
Yep.
And I was trying to think of what other cameras do that, and I think the Nikon has a basically an adjustable one, the Nikon R10. I looked up. There was a Canon 814E.
That's right, yes.
Which I believe had that facility.
I think it does, yes. It's a bit of a clunky camera, though.
Really? Is it not particularly a desirable one, do you think? Or is it just...
It's another one that's got plastic cogs inside.
Oh, dear.
So it's quite prone to breaking, a bit like all the 514 XLSs.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll buy one, have a lovely time of like 5 or 6 cartridges, and then it'll grind to a halt.
Oh, dear. Yeah, that's pretty much what happened to me. Luckily, the one I bought, lasted for years and years and years, and then ground to a halt. I've talked about that on another show. I filmed in a desert with it, and I think sand got into it, and that was the last straw.
You don't need anything extra to grind those gears. They just deteriorate over time. The teeth actually pop off, and some of it turns to sludge as well. So it's just it's the materials breaking down. They're 40 years old. So it's just an inevitability.
Also, off topic of the 1014. Which cameras are the real like workhorses built like tanks, still working after all these years and probably will outlast the others.
Nalcom FTL 1000s.
Ooh, that's
yeah,
that's on my bucket list. That the
buy,
Nalcom.
buy,
Really?
because they're quite easy to maintain. They're quite easy to fix. You can have the interchangeable lens system, so you can have M42, you can have Minolta, Canon FD, Nikon. You know, you can just basically stick anything on the end of it,
right?
And they work well.
Wow. Yeah.
So they're going to be going for some time.
Right. Right. I mentioned earlier there was a the 814 AZ, the classic auto zoom. I mean, I've bought 3 of those over the years, and all 3 of them are still working.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the other one. I think a lot of first timers are going for those as well. The 814 AZ auto zooms.
Yeah, they are very good cameras.
A Canon. I mean, if you had to pick out like one Super 8 brand, one company that just consistently made the best cameras, would Canon be the ones?
Yes. Simple as that.
Short answer.
They would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even have to think about it for very long. You know, I love some of my other cameras, but if I'm going to have something that I'm going to rely upon, take out of the box and haven't used for 6 months and know it's going to work, it's going to be a Canon.
Right.
You know, there are exceptions to the rules. Yeah, some of them, of course, have the plastic cogs that go brittle and fall apart inside, and others sort of get a bit gunged up with all the lube inside that sort of turns to dust. But those things can be overcome by you know, having repairs done, basically. So even if you have one of those cameras and it breaks, keep hold of it because you might want to get it repaired in the future.
Right. Well, having said that, my very first Super 8 camera ever was a rather maligned Canon AF310 XLS.
A classic.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a bad camera for a 13-year-old to have because it had
I would say it was a very good camera. For
yeah. I was quite in awe when I got it. But
it looked great,
and it looked a bit Nizo-ish, and it served me very well for a long time. But it didn't. I mean, although it was autofocus, the picture looked pretty soft, especially in low light.
Yeah. You don't get that so much with the 514 XLS. I think that's the pinnacle of autofocus for Super 8. But the smaller ones, it tends to be slightly soft because of the technology behind the autofocus system.
Right.
So it's never pin sharp.
Right. Well, I thought it was something to do with the f1.0 starts to get a bit soft.
Possibly.
I mean, I've found that in quite a few cameras, when I open the aperture all the way out, it really doesn't look particularly good.
No, but then in a weird kind of way, that sort of idiosyncratic behavior, those sort of weird anomalies and that fuzziness is what makes Super 8 so distinctive. I've shot things that have been completely out of focus and to my mind look amazing. Really? So it's kind of the joy of the format is that it doesn't have to be super sharp. In an age where everything's 4K or 8K, I quite like sort of 2K scans with a slight element of graininess to them because it kind of is honest to the format.
Yeah. Well, grain.
I think that's important.
Yeah. It's funny. There's grain and then there's softness. And I don't mind grain at all. I mean, you can get grain that still looks kind of sharp. And that's not bad. That's not too bad. Because I think grain can be more forgiving of than if someone's.
I think sometimes grain can be the image itself. I think if you're shooting Tri-X, grain is like the joy. It's like it's going into sort of bleaching on things and you see the grain disappear and then you go into the darkness and the grain is there. It's beautiful. It's what makes it film.
Yeah. Well, you saw that footage earlier of on the South Bank, that very
loved it.
Grainy. Yeah. That was like I said, the amazing thing about these cameras is that even like with the aperture wide open, you'd still have a decent depth of field, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be in the lens, right? This incredible lenses they have.
There's so many elements in the 1014 in particular. I think there are 2 less in the 814, and that's funnily enough why the 814 can sometimes seem sharper But the 10-14, the amount you can do with that lens is just crazy. You don't need an interchangeable lens on that camera because it's a lens for everything. It's great in macro.
I was just about to, that was the other thing that in the instruction book, it says you can do macro with all the way zoomed in and all the way zoomed out. Which I didn't realize until this afternoon. I was playing around with it. And,
something else to experiment with. There you go.
Macro.
So it's really good.
Yeah. I'm gonna play some more footage. This is some we won't see you, but we can still hear you. But here is some. Here we go. Here's the time lapse. Right, I did some time lapses. Well, this was at a workshop I did. One of my workshop pupils did this, and this was I think this was like one frame every 5 seconds, I think.
Okay.
And very nice. She was a big fan of clouds. Funny thing is, we went up a hill, up Parliament Hill, and did this.
I see.
And believe it or not, we got told off by.
Why?
Well, there's some people were sitting on a bench nearby, and the one click every 5 seconds was driving one of them crazy. And he said,
"Oh my word!"
Yeah. He said,
really?
Yeah. He said,
really? Oh, I find that hard to believe.
No. You would not believe how fussy people can get.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was like click every 5 seconds, And I said,
it's not offensive.
I said, we're in a public place, and it's not that loud, and it's not, and he said, cheeky. Called me cheeky for answering back.
Well, I think they deserve the clicking. Is all I can say.
Absolutely. I hope the clicks. Oh yeah, and here's a little color 500T. That was at the start of my film. That was that wasn't
excellent stuff.
It was nice. Yeah. So I mean, there's and the registration is great as well. I mean, people say
it is very good.
Yeah.
Although I would say the Nikons are probably slightly better for that.
Really
they are very steady, and so is the Lycina. The RT1 is amazing, but for an all-rounder, the Canon is second to none. The two top of the range models are just, I would pick them up over everything else. It's as simple as that.
And what's amazing is that Canon are making they didn't fold like a lot of camera companies did when the Super 8. They went on. They made video cameras. They made DSLRs.
They did indeed.
I can't think of any other company that has bridged those different eras. I mean, Sony.
I think Nikon tried camcorders, didn't they, for a while? Just a few.
Oh yes, Nikon. That's
so. Yeah. I think the whole Canon, Nikon, they're always going to be competing, and I think there were some wonderful cameras that they created sort of in the early video age. But I think Canon, with the Canon Vision, they were great cameras.
Yeah, these cameras were, I think, one of the first to. They had a sort of a microprocessor or something inside.
That's right. They're like little computers. That's what's crazy, and that's one of the things that can go wrong. Is the technologies in there is like you think it was designed in sort of 77, 78.
Yeah.
It came out at the end of 78 some places. I think in the UK it came out at the beginning of 79. The technology that's in there is just second to none for the era. Yeah. It's like, considering they are Super 8 cameras, it's just incredible what they crammed into such a small box.
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's amazing.
You just wonder what they would have. I mean, if CCDs and video cameras hadn't come in, you just wonder what would have been the next level in Super 8.
It's amazing to think about it, but in many ways, video was always going to take over because it's lacking the film stock, and video stock is cheap.
Yeah.
So
and you can watch it immediately. You can watch it instantly as well.
Yeah, it's instantaneous. So I suppose you had Polar Vision, the Polaroids format that was quite fun, but it was never going to be competing with video. Video was just like a breakthrough.
Yeah.
But then look what we have in our pockets now. It's like
it killed the video camera, the phone, pretty much.
Yeah, and broadcasting. Everything is done from your pocket. It's just amazing. I never thought I would live in this world as a child. I thought I'd have a jetpack, but I didn't think I'd have a broadcasting device in my pocket.
Yeah. It's I had those Osborne books of the future where they told us that by now there would be moon bases. They
probably are. Ben.
Yeah, they had. But they predicted, like robots and everything, and moon bases and everything. They completely failed to predict the mobile phone. Insane. All those futurology people.
And I think with smartwatches, we've reached the point where Dick Tracy is, we're there.
Yeah, well, it's
fine. I can have a video call with someone at the other end of the planet. It's amazing.
Yeah, except for you're not doing this while you're talking.
Sadly.
You're doing this. You're holding the phone.
But going back to Super 8, I think for me, as a child, the Canons were also the most glamorous. They were the ones I wanted and coveted,
really,
and never ever got hold of until sort of like the late 90s when I was a film student. So from that perspective, they were always the cameras that I dreamed of holding and using. And it took quite a long time to actually do that. Whereas now, I think cameras get to sort of 5 years old and you can afford it. What was £10,000 becomes £1,500.
Yeah. And in that respect, I mean, these 1014s and 814s, they're not actually that expensive when you see how much cameras cost.
You're talking something that was over $1,000.
Right.
In
1979 dollars. Or they were. I think I worked it out, and they would be like several thousand by today's standards, like 2,500.
Easily, sort of. You'd be looking at sort of 3.5 for an 814 XLS and $5,000 for a 1014. Easily in equivalent now.
Yeah. Well,
which kind of makes sense.
My first, our first family camera. Well, I think it was an old Bell and Howell or something, and I remember pleading my dad to let me shoot a roll while we're on holiday, and eventually I probably just to shut me up, he gave me a roll of Super 8, and I filmed insects for the whole time. I filmed an insect documentary because I was fascinated by how a column of ants, if you put like a dead bee in it, they will surround it and start carrying it away and into their nest.
Incredible.
I filmed that with the Bell and Howell, and it came
in focus.
No, it was horribly blurred. It had no macro. I had no idea what macro was. I had no idea about even staying a proper distance from what you're filming. But if you're filming ants, it's going to be hard without a macro.
What a valiant effort.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, and at the very end of the film, I did a little skit where I went crazy with fly swatters and spray.
I lost you.
Oh, can you hear me now? Yeah. No, I went nuts with insect spray and fly swatters and tried to kill as many insects as possible. So it was like David Attenborough, which ended up as a kind of a snuff film for insects.
Carnage.
Yeah, Carnage.
Yeah, that's not good.
Look at this interesting column of ants carrying a bee. Now let's spray them and see what happens. Let's kill them. This is what happens when you.
I think that sort of level of destruction could be quite good.
Well, it gave the film a sort of an ending, a dramatic ending. And
that certainly sounds like a dramatic ending, for the insects anyway.
Yeah, it was like what was the film? Phase 4, that ants one where they.
Oh yes, the hand with the ant coming out.
Yeah. The ants win in the end of that one. Not in my film. Anyway, Bill, it's getting on. We're gonna finish up. We're gonna finish up with a film that I tried to show a few weeks ago, and my camera failed. My DSLR failed, and hopefully we will be able to. Let's have a look here. Well, look, oops. Get rid of that. A lot of technical nonsense going on.
Like a bit of bars.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch that on. Let's see if that comes on. If all comes well. There we go. Yep. Okay, FPS override. Right, that's ready. So anyway, before I put that on, Bill, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
It was a great pleasure, and definitely worth the wait. And is
Yeah,
there
thank
anything
you.
anything you're up to that you know the audience can check out what you're up to?
Well, next year, I did hope to do lots of sort of workshops this year, but getting people in a room together seems to have been a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
So next year, yes, wait and see. But that will be under the Seaside Super 8 banner. So
Brilliant.
we'll wait and see. I want to get people in the water using Umic Nauticas, basically.
Oh, that's another of my bucket list. I it used to be the three N's: a Nikon, a Nalcon, and a Nizo. The ones I don't have, but then the Nautica. There'll have to be a fourth.
Oh well, it's a good N.
And it's a good brand, Umig. I could go on about Umigs, but I've gone on about them in other shows. I like it's one of my
There's
favorite
always enough time for that.
brands. Anyway, thanks, Bill.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Great to see you. And thank you very much for joining us again. And everyone,
Thank you.
Go check out Bill's Seaside Super 8 when this whole COVID nightmare is over.
Next year, hopefully.
Yes. Great. Okay, right. Let's say, whoops, Bill. I just just kicked him right off the show by accident. So we're going to finish off. I'm going to switch some lights off now. We're going to have some live movies. So like I said, this was one that didn't work before because my DSLR crapped out on me. However, we are going to give it another go. It's that New York footage. New York from about 1986, I want to say. Maybe 87. Yeah. Oh, the lights are going down. Maybe get some music on. Horrible music. What is that? That'll do. Right, what we've got here. There we go. Oh, and the last light. And roll projector. Yeah, that's more like it. So, yes, don't walk. They've taken those away now, I understand. So any of my viewers here from New York might be old enough to remember when it all looked like this. Okay. Blurry. Come on, get it together. Sun Doggo says, what do you think about Boliers? I think they're bloody great cameras. Fussy, but beautiful. Oh my goodness, look. Damn, that's a long way down. Jeez. Oy vey, is all I can say about that. What a view. I've talked about Boliers in another show. I think it was my very first show. I talked about the 4008 ZM2. Lovely camera. Temperamental. Wow. I mean, you know you're high up. That's the Verrazzano Narrows Bridge, that. Look at that. Look. You know how big the Statue of Liberty is? It's tiny. Look at it down there. We went up to the head. Yep, well, this is what travel is like nowadays. You sit at home, you put your old Super 8s on, and you travel in the mind. And I hope someone from New York is watching this, because I don't know. Just hope someone's watching this. Okay, so yeah, then we went up, another day. We went up the Empire State. Is it Kodachrome? Yes, this was Kodachrome. Yep. This was the wonderful Kodachrome shot on, I think, the Canon AF 3110 XLS. Yeah, I don't know if maybe this footage is worth something. I don't know. Who knows? Oh my God! Look, it's me. It's me. Where I still have that baseball jacket. I didn't buy it there, but it's now got patches sewn all over it. Oh my God! What a geek! What a horrendous geeky bastard. Okay. All right. I think that's it. That's enough of that. All right. One bit more. There we go. As my dad got a phone call while he was shaving, and I thought it was so hilarious that I went and filmed it. Okay. Enough of that. That's the family stuff. It worked. Everything worked. I'm very happy. Firstly, that boots worked. The boots footage worked. I don't think I drowned everyone out from with the music. The DSLR worked. This is great. Oh, finally! This is like after 8 shows, I finally got a bit of technical know-how going on. As you can see, that's because the light's not on. That's it, everyone. That's better. And as the host sinks into his cocktail, I want to thank you all for watching. Very nice footage, people are saying. Yes. Thank you, UK Airsoft. One of my biggest fans there. I'll be back next week with episode 9. And let's get that music. So I'll be episode 9. So next week is going to be a bit of a hodgepodge of stuff. It's going to be some cameras, going to be some accessories. It's going to be some. I'm going to try developing this, which is the older boots stuff, which probably isn't going to work quite as well as as that black box stuff. But hey, let's try it. Half of this was already shot, so I'm very curious to see what's on the rest of that. I'm going to shoot the rest, and I'm going to finally let you know whether black box is as good as orange box when we're talking boots. And that's it. Yeah. So next week I'll be talking to Tio Manny, or Manny's. I don't know if he wants to be called Tio Manny or whatever, but he is a watcher of the show who I had a bit of a rapport with, and I'm going to invite him on. And that goes for the rest of you. I basically like having guests on the show, and if you like talking about Super 8 or cameras generally, I'm not just Super 8. We did a show on video. Maybe I'll do one on DSLRs one day. Or even still cameras. Boring. No. Some still cameras are cool. And great stuff. Nice to be transported away for an hour again. Oh, thank you, John. And yes, I'll transport you all the way next week. And right now, I'm not going to transport anywhere because I'm at the end of it, still here. And I will be back in 1 week. And thank you all for watching. And that was Ben's camera show. Let's drown me out with the music because I won't stop talking. Bye, everyone. Keep shooting. Thanks for watching. And I'll see y'all next week.